Coming up on CHGO Cubs, presented by Toyota. Happy opening day. Shota shoves in Tokyo, but the Cubs offense falls asleep. Breakfast with the boys next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs POSTGAME Podcast. It is opening day. Not even 8 o'clock in Chicago, and we're already done with the baseball game. Cubs lose to the Dodgers in the first of the Tokyo series out in Japan with the 5 a.m. first pitch. 4-1 the final.
Good morning.
Good morning to everybody in the live YouTube chat. Thanks for waking up with us. Thanks for waking up with the Cubs. Just wish you could wake up the offense, huh? Yeah. Cody, Luke Stuckmeyer, Cody Delmendo with you. Sarah, by the way, back and running the ones and twos.
Happy opening day.
This will give Barb something to be happy about, at least.
If she's here.
Yeah, here's the first thing. We could take any of last year's post-game shows and play it right now, and so many of those storylines would be consistent with today. This is year 4 for CHGO Cubs. This is our 4th season opener.
I am requesting, this is end moment here, so maybe we can make this a season-long thing. I am requesting a Luke Stuckmeyer reaction. Are you looking for a rant?
Because it's way too early for a rant.
I'm looking for a Luke Stuckmeyer rant of sorts. It's something from this game that ticked you off, because there are many of them, and we're going to talk about all of them. But what's the biggest thing that bothered you? The number one thing,
I was saving this for the second block. We waited 6 months for 3 hits. Remember, like the great T-shirt, what if I told you 108 years of tears would be washed away by 17 minutes
Shout out to Greg
of rain? Yeah. We waited 6 months for 3 hits.
Yeah.
We had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for 3 hits.
We had to come in here and do this for 3 hits. Yeah.
Man, oh man. By the way, if you're watching, this is the new reality spray that we'll be using this season. If Cody gets out of control and gets a little delusional, I spray him. Sarah's got a little bit of a cold. It also works as disinfectant. Spray it again. Whatever you got to do. There will be no beer bat chug to start the season on opening day.
We should start doing Malort for losses. But
did you see that Bleacher Jeff took Malort over there and was letting people try it?
I did see that.
Yeah, I saw that too. All right, let's start with the offense. Let's just get going with it. And by the way, the best way to enjoy the CHGO experience, if you're new to the show or listening to this just in podcast form, which we appreciate, is to subscribe to that CHGO Sports YouTube page. Follow along with us. Get in the chat. I see Gary Ross is up early. He says Workman should have been starting for Birdie. We can debate that in a little bit. We'll talk about the roster moves and if there were positives, what they were. Here's one of them. Shota Imanaga looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Even though he walked 4 guys, which, isn't the best, no hits, no runs, 4 innings. I saw already Godfather of the CHGO podcast in the live YouTube chat complaining that it was only 4 innings. We knew he wasn't really going to throw more than 80 pitches.
Right. He said that in the spring, like the first couple, it was like the first or second week that Shota Imanaga himself hoped that he'd be ready to throw 80 pitches by this game.
And he did have a look of relief with that fly ball to center field that looked like it might have been a home run at first, but
It's kind of
I think it was the right time.
It's kind of the downfall of the fact that the Tokyo series is still technically in the middle of spring training, right? Like no one else is going to play any other games until the end of next week, right? So, yeah I think this is the conversation that can be had about Shota not going further into the game. One, you mentioned it. Kike Hernandez almost hit one out of the park dead center off him. He walked 4 guys. But then second off, he had 69 pitches. Nice. After that inning. And so Craig Counsell's decision-making has to come to, do you bring him back out there and hope that he gets out of the next inning in 11 pitches, or do you run the risk, and do that, or do you just bring in Ben Brown in a clean inning and go from there? And that's what he ended up deciding to do. So if they had brought Shota back out, we don't know what would have happened. Obviously, this is in hindsight now, but I think that was part of the decision making, I would guess. So I didn't mind that he took Shota out. Like I said, he almost gave up that homer to Kike Hernandez. He walked 4 guys. And again, he wasn't going to pitch more than 80. He wasn't going to throw more than 80 pitches. He was close. So I honestly put more blame on the offense on this game than anything else. Defense wasn't great for a few innings too. So
I see people in the chat are upset that Ben Brown was the first guy in, that this was the situation he was put in. I think it's kind of where the Cubs would like to use him this season. You know, we can debate that in a little bit. Where do you see his best fit? But I don't mind it. To be perfectly honest, if you want a spin zone, although I'm mad that we watched 3 hits at 5 o'clock in the morning, let's face it, I was worried they were going to lose the first game 16-1 the way the Dodgers were making postseason moves. At least they were within 3 runs. Is that pessimistic of me?
No, they led this game at one point.
That's right.
They were in this game. You know, they get an insurance run in the 9th, whatever.
You're not going to – listen, when you only have 3 hits, you can't walk the 9-hitter twice before Ohtani comes up, period. End of story.
Right.
And you also can't make errors.
Right.
You have to play nearly flawless baseball to beat the Dodgers. And by the way, the Dodgers without Freddie Freeman and without Mookie Betts. Yeah. Can you imagine taking those 2 players out of the Cubs lineup today, what we would have been talking about? Right. That's how powerful the Dodgers are.
Let me try to say this again. I think you can make the argument, though, that this loss isn't on, the Cubs not signing this guy or that guy or whatever, any of the stuff that we've complained about in the offseason. This loss is on just the margins because they were in this game. They led this game, right? Yeah, you can't walk the 9-hitter. You can't walk as many guys as the Cubs did today in general, and that goes with Shota, right? You can't walk that many people. Mm-hmm. Birdie has to hold that ball at second base on the double play turn.
Yep.
Matt Shaw, I thought he gloved it really well today. He had a bad throw in one inning. The Dodgers didn't end up scoring that inning, but the guy that got on, I think that's probably more on Bush than Shaw. But it got kind of sloppy there for a couple innings, and it just felt like, man, like your team, I don't want to say this team is built specifically on defense, but we've sat here all winter and been like, there's 5 or 6 guys on this team that can win a Gold Glove. Mm-hmm. And so when you're talking about winning on the margins, the Cubs did not win this game on the margins at all. The Dodgers beat them on the margins in this one, on top of the fact that they have the best player in the league, Shohei Ohtani. And when you walk the 9-hitter on 4 or 5 pitches and that gives Ohtani a chance with a runner on base, you're setting yourself up for failure. And that's probably been my biggest criticism of Ben Brown today. He also struck out Ohtani on 3 pitches the next time he faced him. So I think if anyone's down on Ben Brown after one game, I don't think you watched him pitch at all last year. I think that there's the one positive out of Ben Brown's performance today is that he threw nearly 70 pitches, which gives me an idea that they see him as a starter. So we can talk more about that later in the show, but if you want to talk about it now, where do you want to spin zone for me? That's it.
Where do you see Ben Brown? If you were Craig Counsell, where would you put him? How would you utilize him?
I just think he has the highest ceiling of any of the other arms that are in that 5th rotational spot, and I would like to see them take a chance with him in that 5th rotation spot. That's where I've always, well, not necessarily always, but based off how they've been using him this spring, only starting games, I think that there's value in that. And since they brought in a bunch of new bullpen arms, I've shifted from him being a high leverage reliever to a starter. And if he's healthy, when you watched him strike out Ohtani the second time you faced him, you could see what this guy can be. Yeah, the first inning he pitched today wasn't great. Defense didn't help him either. He can't walk guys like he did. But it's not like we haven't seen this guy do before. We watched him pitch 7 no-hit innings in Milwaukee last year. So, yeah, I personally would like them to go with him as that 5th starter because I think it's the highest ceiling play for them. I think he's better than Jordan Wicks. He's better than Colin Ray. He's better than Javier Assad when he comes back. Just based on stuff alone and potential of being able to not finish the season as the 5th starter. That's what I think. If you could start the season as that 5th starter, he could certainly find himself higher in that rotation by the end of the year, if given the chance and he does what I think he can do. And I think a lot of people feel that way.
There are some people that think you could save some innings maybe by not making him a starter early in the season.
That's true.
And just kind of using him sporadically. When do you want to have his best stuff? Okay, sure. You want to have it at the end of the season. For me, he's a starter this year. For the reasons you said, he has higher upside than anybody else, and you're talking about your 5th starter spot. You're not asking for perfection out of him as a starter this season. You're asking him to be the 5th starter. There's going to be some hiccups. There's going to be a learning curve for a young pitcher. There's going to be some mistakes like walking the 9-hitter before Ohtani comes up. But he's different than any other pitcher they have. He's a completely different look, and I see more upside for him as a starter if that's what you can get out of him.
Yeah.
And so why not find that out? Plus, it's easier to take a starter and move him to the bullpen than it is to take a bullpen guy, then send him to Iowa and tell him he has to get stretched out and we don't see him for a while. I don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I really don't want, is seeing him having to go back and forth to Iowa to stretch out every time they want him to. So let him be a starter. That's what I would prefer to see for Ben Brown this season. I think he has the potential to be a 1, 2, or 3 starter for sure for the Cubs.
Yeah.
I really think that. And his stuff can be electric, and former players look at it and say, that's something right there. That guy could be something. And I agree. I like Jordan Wicks, and he may be the more consistent prospect, but I like Ben Brown's high upside. And so I'd like to see it. It was disappointing the way his season ended last year. Let's get him back into the rotation when we get back stateside. And see how it works out. These first couple games are going to be a little screwy. We know they are. We expected to see a lot of pitchers today. We expect to see a lot of pitchers tomorrow. Council told us before they even went there, back at Cubs convention, he's like, it's going to be a little bit different. Nobody's throwing 7 innings in these first 2 games. Don't expect to see Steele doing it tomorrow either.
Yeah.
So
by the time they're stateside, though, I would expect their pitch counts, the first start, for Shota and Steele to be somewhere around 90 to 100, somewhere in that range. And then once you get to that second and third start, more around 100 to 110.
Yeah.
And it's very rare that we see anyone even go over 100 these days anyway. But, yeah, that's the downfall of this series is these starters. I mean, even Yamamoto didn't go that deep. Yamamoto came out with nearly the same amount of pitches as Shota did, I believe. Well,
they let him hang around by going. He got through 4, and then they gave him a bunch of quick swings the next inning.
I think after they took the lead, the Cubs in the following inning, they got 2 outs on 2 pitches. So, yeah, we could talk more about this offense. I have more to say about the offense. We can go back to it.
That's coming up in just a minute on the CHGO Cubs postgame show, presented by Toyota. But first, a word from some of our other great sponsors. Cody, like Sunnyside.
Based off the YouTube chat, a lot of y'all could get some Sunnyside because it will help you get through the rest of this day. I promise you, all right? Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. What are some of the amazing features that make this brand or product awesome, Luke?
Mm-hmm.
One, it's a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs, and they have an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus your favorite thing, easy online ordering, right, and in-store pickup. But for someone like you, I know that easy online ordering.
What's that supposed to mean? Someone like you.
You know what it means. All right, it makes it super, super simple, right? They're Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations in Wrigleyville, River North, all the way to the suburbs, Champaign, South Beloit as well, if you're up near Wisconsin. And if you're starting out, Sunnyside has expert guidance and brands they know you'll love, like Good News and Mindy's. If you're a pro, they got you covered with over 100 strains, like I said, and new ones added daily. They know you'll love Cresco and FloraCal's incredible quality and consistent products. So visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. All you got to do is enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
Who's ready to experience the future? If you're going to Arizona for the rest of spring training after these couple games, or maybe you're heading out there for spring break, Waymo's autonomous ride-hailing service consists entirely of all-electric Jaguar I-Pace vehicles, providing a consistent zero-emission experience for riders. 150,000 trips per year across San Francisco, LA, and Phoenix. That's why you can do it out in Arizona. Waymo was the first company to serve a fully autonomous ride with no human behind the wheel back in 2015. Now they've had over 40 million miles of real-world driving experience. That's enough to drive to the moon and back 80 times. Fun fact, you cannot drive to the moon. If you are heading out to Arizona for spring training, download the Waymo One app and get ready to experience the future. Cubs lose 4-1 on opening day in Japan. First game of the Major League season. The entire world with a spotlight on the Chicago Cubs and the Dodgers. The whole world is watching, looking over the top, and the Cubs deliver 3 hits.
Yeah, 3 hits.
Voila, there it is, the 3-hit offense. Here's one thing I will say, and I know it's one game and it's a total overreaction, but that's what we do on this show, and that's what everybody does on Twitter and on YouTube and everywhere else. See, Godfather says 1 blown save, 30 to go.
Was it technically a blown save?
While everybody will say, the Godfather will complain about the bullpen and Brown coming in and walking guys, I will tell you this. What did we say was the number one problem? And that doesn't mean it's going to be the problem this season. I'm just saying, I still believe the number one problem last year, as bad as the bullpen was, and it was bad, the number one problem was still not enough offense.
Yeah.
And so today, in the first game of the season against the Dodgers, again, Yamamoto's a great pitcher, but those are the types of guys you have to face if you're going to get to the postseason and be successful. The Cubs had 1 base runner after the 3rd inning. They had 1 base runner after sunrise in Chicago.
Was that John Birdie?
Plunked.
Yeah.
Right?
Hit by a pitch. Yeah.
Hit by pitch. The only base runner the Cubs had after the 3rd inning was a guy hit by pitch. That's not going to get it done. Oh, and by the way, they struck out 9 times.
Yeah.
So we talked about how some of the storylines could be the same from last year. It's 1 game. Don't panic. Don't hit the button. I still believe they win the division. It's 1 game. I'm going to say it again. It's 1 game. But, man, that was the same show that I watched last year.
Yeah, I mean, we watched a lot of this game. Like, if you want to do the cycle, you want to go through the cycle, let's start with the defense, walks. Like, that's all in all on the defense and pitching side. And then when you look at the offense, some of the things that I feel like we saw a lot of, there was a moment, I want to say, whatever inning that Eaton Happ came up with a runner on second base. Maybe that was late in the innings.
Happ did have one of the 3 hits.
He did have one of the 3 hits, and he did walk too. So he got on base twice today, actually. But he was up in the late innings, going up against. It wasn't Tanner Scott.
Well, that's the inning, but that's the inning that Say also had an opportunity with a runner on.
Yeah,
and it was still 3-1 at that point.
Yeah, but the point is you had a runner in scoring position, didn't score, and then I was waiting for the inevitable fake rally in the 9th inning, so they didn't even actually complete the cycle of pain that I feel like we witnessed every single day last year. But for me, this is just one of those, like, I'm more so just kind of accepting the fact that this Dodgers team is going to just be a juggernaut again this year, and giving credit. I mean, they ran out Trinan, they ran out Tanner Scott, and Yamamoto. Maybe that first reliever, Bando, I believe, came in. Like, maybe that's one of the guys that they could have had their best chance to get something off of. Even with Yamamoto out there was an inning where they had a base runner on, and they couldn't do anything with it. So, you know, positive, Miguel Amaya's opposite field double to drive in a run to score the first run of the game. Was a good sign for him in his long-term, what we hope he can be this year. But there just wasn't a lot. You know, Dansby hit a warning track fly ball that triggered some PTSD.
I knew as you were getting excited, I didn't have the reality spray in my hand, but I thought to myself, warning track, warning track, warning track.
And then I went on Baseball Savant just to see if it would have left any park here in America. And it would have only left that Mickey Mouse Park in New York, at Yankee Stadium, and I guess the Yankees spring training complex where the Rays will be playing this year. So, yeah, there's not a lot to say about the offense today other than, you know, I think the double is good for Amaya if you're thinking long term. I thought Dansby did have good swings today. He did have a hit. The warning track fly balls, whatever, it was caught, but he made solid contact today, and we talked a lot in the offseason about how he just needs to be consistent this year. You know, if there's anyone from the offense perspective for just one game that I'm kind of annoyed about, was probably Seiya Suzuki, just because, like, he's in his home country. The crowd stood for him, and, like, he just did nothing today. Just like there was nothing really. Just
wasn't
productive.
A good game.
Yeah, it wasn't a good game. It's one game, like you said, but. Yeah, like this offense, all the people in the chat are talking about how it looks like last year's offense, this and that. This offense is going to run. It will run on all cylinders when Seiya Suzuki, Kyle Tucker are playing well. And even Kyle Tucker didn't have the best at-bats today either. His last at-bat, he did line out, and it was caught. It was a really nice catch, whoever's playing left field. But other than that, like, he didn't do much today either. Now that the games matter for the next 2 days, I will acknowledge that Tucker hasn't looked good in the spring, as we know. We asked Ben Zobrist about it yesterday, right?
Which, by the way, if you haven't seen that podcast, go back and watch it.
Sure, it's good stuff.
That was yesterday's pod. Ben Zobrist was on.
Right, but this offense will go as Seiya Suzuki and Kyle Tucker will take them, in my opinion. We can't expect too much from Shaw to start. I know even his last at bat was not great. Struck out on like 3 pitches. But that's Tanner Scott out there, and you're a rookie, and you barely have any major league experience. Like, we have to be patient with Matt Shaw. We just have to, and that's why I was all aboard the Alex Bregman sweepstakes, because it wouldn't have put so much pressure on Shaw to perform early, right? So
they would have won this game with Bregman.
That's not what I'm saying.
Sorry.
But I'm just saying that with less pressure to perform offensively, probably could have been good for him, but. We can criticize that later in the season if this team really, really sucks. But yeah, I've basically said everyone's name. PCA, you know, he hit one up the middle. They were positioned perfectly for it.
Do you like that lineup? If that is to be the lineup for most of the season, do you like Happ, Suzuki, Tucker, Bush, Shaw, Swanson, PCA, Amaya, Birdie? Obviously, Birdie it'll change.
It'll be Horner
when Nico comes back, and Nico will be maybe in a different spot there. I know Gary and some people were saying after this spring, why not Workman? Now, I will say that I want to see Workman in game 2 because he's been so hot. I'm for playing Workman. Are you going to play him at second base? Are you going to play him at third base? I think today people were arguing, well, I'd rather see his bat at second than Birdie. Birdie had the one bad play. He made a nice play later in the game.
And he stole a base after he got hit by the pitch.
And he stole a base. I don't know. I don't know if that makes a difference. I will say this. If games come down to the fact that whether or not you played Workman or Birdie, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
That's a concern. Like if it comes, that just means nothing else happened offensively. If that's our problem, is that Birdie wasn't exciting enough for us at second base. It shouldn't come to that. Now, I'd like to see Workman get a shot in game 2, however that might work. I don't know what they're going to do with it.
I think to play devil's advocate with that.
With Workman?
Yeah, with when you were talking about if we're sitting here arguing about playing Birdie or Workman, I think the difference is Workman is a guy that not only has he played well for you in the spring, but I think the defense, he grades well as defensively.
And he did show us just the other day in an exhibition game, he can turn double play.
Yeah. So I think the defensive upside there is critical. And then the offensive profile is unlike any of the second basemen that they've had in a while. So if it's, of course, that's Nico Horner's spot. I'm very interested, I guess you could say, to see what he can do against Major League pitching. Because, again, if you just go look at his minor league numbers, he's got alarming K rates. He has never faced Major League pitching, and you're going to put him out there to face Yamamoto, and they're going to face Roki Sasaki tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a better matchup tomorrow because Roki Sasaki's making his Major League debut tomorrow. And I'm sure, especially in Japan, will have some nerves. Maybe the Cubs can take advantage of that. Maybe it's a good spot to give Workman a chance. But I think they have to be very, very, very particular about matchups that they put Workman out there for. It can't just be, you're facing a righty and he's a lefty. I think you have to recognize what he struggles with and what he succeeds with to avoid having him in there and just being an automatic 0 for 3, 0 for 4 with 3 Ks. You know what I mean? So I'm not mad that Workman didn't play today, other than I love his defense.
I see Jake Tendo in the chat saying, how about Shaw at second, Workman at third? They won't do that. Shaw is going to be at third base when he's playing because they want stability for him. Yeah. Now, does he have the ability to play second base in other places? Yes, but he's third base this year. I don't expect to see him playing other positions unless something crazy happens.
Yeah. I think differently if they did it in the spring at all, but they've only been playing.
Yeah, they haven't even toyed with it. Stephen with a couple of super chats for us. The first one, no one should take shots at Japan and the Japanese fans because they hate getting up early and they don't like the glorified exhibition. Maybe somebody was doing that in chat. I don't know. I thought the crowd was great. I think everything I've seen from Japan and heard from people in Japan has been spectacular.
I'll give Marquis credit for this. When Taylor did the interview with the girl who, with the vendor, it's like a keg and a backpack.
She has a keg and it's straight from the tap, the beers.
Yeah, and it's like she is like a backpack of sorts. I was like,
that was a good sideline hit.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I did not know that. So
Cody's picturing it at a Friday 120 club.
All I'm saying is,
come to me with that tap,
right? Because I just think that's super beneficial. Anyway.
And then another $5 super chat from Steven. He says, do you feel like Counsell punted the game with Brown pitching 3 innings? I feel like he's treating this whole series like a glorified spring training.
I don't see how that can be punting the game.
I don't.
He brought him in a 1-0 game.
And he was actually, the first inning was the bad inning.
Yeah.
Right? So the next inning, he was pretty good. I would say they're treating this as much like a regular season game as they can. They realize that there's 160 games after this.
Yeah.
After these 2 in Tokyo. And so they don't want to push anybody too far to the limit. The starters are all out there. It's just the pitching that's going to be slightly different in these couple of games. And we got to look at a lot of the new arms that are coming to the Cubs bullpen. We'll talk more about it in a second. But first, a word from our sponsors. The Chicago winter can be brutal, but Toyota helps make it easier. Do we go from 78 to snow every other day right now? Yes. You want to have the right vehicle. Toyota's got 25 vehicles available with all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. They have more than any other auto brand out there, from the sleek Camry all-wheel drive to the Corolla's hybrid all-wheel drive. The Toyota Tundra is a truck that's known for its power, durability, and off-road capabilities, perfect for Chicago winters. Headed to the big game? Try out the spacious Grand Highlander. Perfect ride with all-wheel drive to keep you and yours safe. Would be good for heading out on a spring break journey as well. So you bring the action. Toyota's going to bring the traction. Toyota, let's go places. Also, right now, perfect time to be a CHGO diehard. Join the list of sickos that have signed up with us. 3,000 sickos and diehards out there walking around with a diehard card. It's instant credibility in your pocket.
Yeah.
Instant credibility in your pocket. It also comes with access to all our written content.
Yep. Which
the Discord.
Jared said in Slack that he's going to have something out related to this game today. So.
He was up. I saw him tweeting. 5 a.m. he was on there.
You have the Discord. You get discounts on merch, events, and stuff like that.
Oh, we got new merch coming. New baseball merch. We still have the St. Patty's Day stuff out.
The new merch is coming. I know it's technically opening day, but I will be shocked if we don't have it by domestic opening day. So look out for that.
This is the time. This is the time. Get it if you want to go in. If you want to sign up today, you can get in the Discord and complain with everybody about 3 hits.
I'll be in the Discord shortly after the show when I'm on my way home. And we'll be in the voice chat, and anyone who wants to air their grievances to me, I'll listen to it. So it's one of the many reasons I think that the membership is awesome. You can just be part of a really fun community that isn't a lot like Twitter and stuff where it can get really toxic. So
hey, Die Hard is the ultimate level of fandom.
Yeah,
and we know that Cubs fans are as diehard as they get. I feel like what we should do with the Die Hard program is take it, and then if you want to give the Die Hard members, 3,000 of them, and then take an elite group of the 3,000, you call them the Sicko Diehards. That's when you level up, but we haven't done that yet. Hey, are you guys having a hard time tracking your money?
Sometimes.
I do all the time. It goes right down the toilet.
It's like you and
it could be all the online orders that are coming to the door nonstop, or the food delivery that we do. Maybe it's something else, Finances can be messy and confusing. Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so you can stop earning and start growing. It's more than your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for your accounts, investments, and goals. Track your spending, your savings, your investments effortlessly so you can focus on what matters most, making your biggest life goals a reality. It was named Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. So get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code CHGO at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code CHGO. And I can almost see Godfather in the live YouTube chat right now saying Ricketts should have this.
He should. If he wants to break even, right?
I saw he actually he basically took that back on a CNBC interview. He's like, that didn't come out the way I meant it to come out.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he did say that.
I did see that he did
but
that.
Then he sort of said many of the same things, like we don't have the budget and we still plan to be there and we spent $1 billion on around the ballpark and redoing Wrigley Field. He said it a different way. Obviously, he's realized once they started printing shirts and whatnot that it probably wasn't the catchphrase that he wanted out there. Didn't quite go exactly.
I guess I should give him credit for.
He did acknowledge it. He did acknowledge it. He just said, "Yeah, that didn't come out the way I wanted it to."
Yeah. So,
is Barb here? Is anybody? How many we have on there?
We had 220 at one point.
Well, we were at 200. Pretty good for.
Yeah, we're at over 200 still.
Most people are still stuck in traffic, and only 61 have given us a like.
I know.
Do you know what time we woke up to do this show?
I got here at 5. Yeah, Emma was here at 4:45.
I beat first pitch. I was here before first pitch.
I was
but
surprised.
You had a longer drive.
I was surprised that I got here before Luke.
I set my alarm at 4:00. It took a little bit longer than I expected it to because I had to get something hot to drink on the way. And they were first opening. Half the stuff wasn't even open at 4 a.m.
Can we go through the chat for a little bit?
Yeah, what do you got there?
I like Cody's chat.
Gregor's.
It's not only because his name is Cody. It says, bunch of negative Nancys in here. One game in the middle of March. I think I just want to use it. This is not criticism towards people who are being negative. It's more of about, perspective. It is one game. Perspective is key. All right. Can we scroll up some more?
William
Sarah?
Workman says they would have won if they signed Matt Chapman.
Thank you.
It's a running joke. If you're not here, what's Ron got to say this morning? I was just hoping it was going to be a blowout. Thank God, no Freeman and Betts. See, that's what I was saying. Like, it was 4-1, but they didn't have two of the greatest players in the world.
Yeah, no,
arguably two top 20 players in baseball.
But you still
out
have
of their lineup.
You still have Max Muncy. You still have Will Smith. You still have Shohei Ohtani. You still have Teoscar Hernandez. Just saying.
The Ohtani thing will never stop driving me crazy.
Yeah, I know.
It will never stop driving me crazy.
If anything,
and I know they might not have had a shot because he wanted to be in L.A., but if you would have offered him more money than the Dodgers did, he'd have thought about it. He would have thought about it.
Yeah, perhaps.
Because every at-bat is a show. Literally, Derek Lee comes on the broadcast like, man, I love watching this guy.
It's become very hard for me to just appreciate the guy because he is a true unicorn to be able to do what he does. And he'll be able to pitch this year. I think they're aiming somewhere in May, I think is what I've heard is the rumor. So, I mean, this guy was an 8-win player last year, and he was a DH. Like, it's crazy. But it's been very hard to appreciate him because he's on the Dodgers in this stacked roster. So
I think this is somebody new to our YouTube chat. Kelly Clarkson is beautiful says there's nothing wrong with going 161-1.
Hell yeah, baby. See,
thank you, Kelly Clarkson.
Kelly Clarkson is beautiful. You have made the morning. You've made it the morning for me at least. That's the best spin zone of the day.
Life of a Cub fan is overreacting every single game. That's what we do.
True.
That's what makes us sickos.
True. Yeah. No, I'm not really. I mean, this was annoying and frustrating because it's opening day. You're in Japan, and there's hope and optimism. Just because it's the beginning of the year, but they had a good off season. I don't care what anyone says. Anyone who thinks the season is over, and whether they're saying it sarcastically or not in the chat. We both know that they had a better offseason than last, and we both still are sitting here and think that they're going to win 87-90 some games. I think that's what we both believe here. But
what grade did you end up giving them for this offseason, or have we even done that actual grade yet? No. For me, it would be a B. It has nothing to do with this game in general, but I would say it's a B. But if they don't re-sign Tucker, it would go back to a C.
Yeah.
Even if they make the playoffs.
Yeah.
If they don't re-sign Tucker, then I would say it's a C. And I'm not mentioning the other guy because that would be $1 in the jar.
Swear jar. I need to legitimately get a jar to bring in here. But the point is that there's still plenty to be excited about for the season. Just one game. We'll come back tomorrow at 5 a.m. and do this again and ride the roller coaster. And hopefully, maybe Workman or Bruhan will play tomorrow at second base. Roki Sasaki is going to have there's going to be a lot of talk about him going into tomorrow morning, and we'll see if he lives up to whatever they're expecting tomorrow. But I think it's a great opportunity for the Cubs to take advantage of a rookie making his debut in his home country, all these things. If you can jump on him early, that can, maybe tomorrow the Cubs will win 4-1. I don't know. That's just me trying to be a little optimistic about it. I understand why people are upset.
By the way, for all the people that are angry at Marquee, right? Not wondering where it's going to be, why isn't it bringing in truckloads of money, yada, 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 all those things.
I even saw people complaining about the
There were some really good things about the broadcast today. Yeah. If you're just talking about that part of it. Number one, the Taylor sideline hit was really good with the beer.
Yeah, the beer vendor.
The beer vendor. Everybody that saw that thought it was fun. And it was informative. Number two, Alex Cohen calling the game. Yeah. What a journey. Career step that is. He's going to call some games at Marquee. He's living in Chicago now. Congratulations to him, friend of the show. But to get to call opening day for Major League Baseball in Japan, from following him on Twitter, he's enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah.
And number 3 on that list, and this is not in any particular order, was the interview with D. I don't need to see Rob Manfred. But the interview with D. Lee was great because I forgot that his father and uncle had played in Japan, and the old photos of little Derek Lee in Japan living there for like 10 years, that was cool stuff.
Yeah. No,
that was a good reminder.
I actually forgot that happened because I'm tired, but thank you for reminding me.
Right? No, I thought, as far as interviews during a game, usually I can do without them.
Yeah.
But when it's Derek Lee, I want to hear Derek Lee. And just how valid it was with his past and his father and growing up there, that was pretty neat. So there were some positives. I don't know where the rest of the series is going. We said going into it, Cody.
Just to win one.
Split. I never had to bring out the reality spray because you never even in your wildest dreams imagined 2 wins over the Dodgers in Tokyo, right? Even in your wildest fantasies, I never had to get out this spray bottle to say, Cody, they're not winning 2 against the Dodgers in Japan. We always said, split it best. My view was, don't get beat 16-1 twice.
Okay.
I don't think the Dodgers are going to be that good, but I think they will be clear. Baseball's a funny sport, but I think they will clearly be the best team in baseball.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if they don't have, even in their tough division, which makes it a little skewed, I'd be surprised if they don't have at least 7 or 8 more wins than even the next team. And the next team in their division could be really good.
Yeah.
That's how elite I think they could. Steven just throwing around the dough here on Super Chats. Look at this, driving in with another Toyota Super Chat. He's got the Cubs need to jump on Sasaki early. He's not popular amongst the Japanese fans on how he forced his way out of Japan and go to L.A. as expected.
Well, interesting.
Well, I'm down on him since he didn't choose the Cubs.
Yeah, I'm down on him too since he didn't choose the Cubs. It made us all wait when everyone thought he was going to the Dodgers.
I was big on Roki, and then he chose the Dodgers. Now I'm down on him.
Yep, I'm as down as ever on him.
You know what he is? He's a follower.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Whatever. Wherever you want to go. That was my first cough. Not bad.
Ian Happ at leadoff. After all these seasons, this is the best they could do. Well, he was the only one on the team who got on base twice today, Chai Beagle, but thank you for your input. What else from this game? Is there anything else?
Well, Barb is finally joined us. Welcome, Barb. Good morning.
Welcome, Barb.
I don't know if you saw the game or not. Barb was asking about Sarah. How is she? I heard she was sick. I said a prayer for her. I'm glad she's better.
She's here.
I am getting better. Yeah. I'm not contagious anymore. I have what Luke has, the delusion.
Disinfectant spray just between us because she's talking this way.
Yeah, but we're good. We're here. I'll be here tomorrow morning again, bright and early. Cody does not look tired.
Cody had it too for a little while. Not as bad.
William Workman once again correcting me. Roki Sasaki signed on the day he literally could or whatever. Sorry.
There it is.
It still was very, very, very long played out, but whatever.
The disrespect was real. Yikes. And what was that for?
Maybe it's because I told him that his comment was basically not correct.
We're going to talk about tomorrow's game in a second, but just hold for it first. I am wondering this. Do you think, opening day, don't you always have a hot dog on opening day? If somebody eats meat, as long as they're not vegetarian, don't you eat hot dogs on opening day? Like if you're going to a ballpark, don't you have to have a hot dog?
Yeah, I believe hot dog is part of baseball culture.
Okay, so is there anybody out there watching this that got up this morning at 5 a.m. and had a hot dog?
I had a buddy
Jim Cook did. Jim Cook. He had a Bloody Mary?
Okay. I had a buddy from high school who told me on Facebook yesterday that was his plan.
He was going to have a hot dog this morning.
Yeah.
A breakfast sausage maybe would have been nice. Barb says, Stucky, order the cast some matzo ball soup for Manny's. That is. Jim, go get us some soup, would you?
Sarah could use some soup.
All right. We're going to talk about tomorrow's game because they have another one at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. And don't worry, we will be here for you. Maybe some breakfast sausage. That's right. But first, a word from our sponsors. Whatever the sport, the app to bet is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports is sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, exceptional customer service. Bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Spreads, props, futures, or in-game. Circa Sports has it. Fun and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. March Madness, ho, here we go. Week number 1. Who do you like? What bets are you watching? Cody, got anybody?
I like San Diego State tonight to cover 5.5.
San Diego State.
Against UNC.
Mark it down. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Waymo's autonomous ride-hailing service consists entirely of all-electric Jaguar. Didn't we read this ad already?
Yeah, we have it twice.
We have to do it twice?
Yes, it's in there twice.
Anyway.
Read the ad, Cody.
Let me tell you, this vehicle is providing a consistent zero-emission experience for our riders. 150,000 trips per week across San Francisco, LA, and Phoenix. It's the first company to serve a fully autonomous ride with no human behind the wheel since 2015. They have over 40 million miles of real-world driving experience. That's enough to drive to the moon and back 80 times, my friends. So if you're heading out to Arizona, the rest of the spring training, download the Waymo
or spring break.
App. Or spring break, yeah, if you're in Arizona, of course, or California, LA, San Francisco area. Like I said, download that Waymo One app and get ready to experience the future.
You know what would be cool is if our sales guys would get us out to spring training here for the last couple of days, and we could take a Waymo to the Grand Canyon for content.
I'm not against it.
Jim, when you get back from picking up some breakfast sausages for us and the matzo ball soup, if you could then, Waymo, isn't that how it goes? Is that the song?
Sure.
It's the future. Nobody, autonomous rides, no human behind the wheel.
Anyway,
tomorrow.
Justin Steele versus Roki Sasaki.
Tomorrow, the show is Justin Steele. The question is, how many innings will he get? Will people be mad when Justin Steele gets pulled from the game tomorrow like they were this morning when Shota was taken from the game? And my answer is he'll probably pitch about the same amount. 3 innings, 4 innings, 5 if you're lucky, like Yamamoto.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect more than 5 innings.
Yeah, no, I think I felt like Shota was on a good pace to go 5 innings, and then that last inning he threw a lot more pitches than he probably wanted to. But I think with Steele, he's going to need some quick outs. If he's getting 5 innings tomorrow, going to need some quick outs because that's how Yamamoto went 5 innings today. We talked about how the Cubs had a couple early swings, put the ball in play, unfortunately didn't get a hit out of it, and that's how he was able to go 5 innings. So I think that's what Steele's going to have to, find a way to induce a little bit tomorrow. And I think I'm expecting him to be pretty solid. I have no.
Are you worried about the
worries
spring?
about him.
We talked about this like a week ago. His last outing was a bummer because he got scratched from his second to last Cactus League outing. His ERA ended up being like 9-something for his 3 appearances, but he missed one start because he got the flu. Then he came back from the flu for that final start before they left for Japan. And what did he give up, like 10 runs?
7.
I mean, he got blasted, right? Yeah. It was 10 hits. It was 10 hits. He got blasted, and it balloons up, and you say, well, Steele came out and said basically it was just to get out and get my work in. That's the reason I'm not worried about it. Now, would I have preferred that he not have the flu before going out to Japan? Yes, because I don't know. An elite athlete recovers differently from the flu than I do. I walk around like a zombie for 3 weeks. But nevertheless, if you have the flu bad, it can take something out of your body. So I hope he's good to go and ready to go, and we get a good start out of Justin Steele. Let's just get one. Listen, not let's play 2. Let's just get 1.
You want to talk about spring training stats? His very first appearance of the spring, he had 5 strikeouts in 2 innings. So, the inflated ERA is from that last start. Yeah. That, again, was coming off a scratch start because of the flu. He wanted to go out there, just get his work in. if we're talking about Justin Steele getting blown up tomorrow, not only will that suck, but I'll be pretty surprised.
I'd be more angry if the offense put up 5 or less hits tomorrow than I would be if Justin Steele gave up 5 runs.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Literally, I'm
fair.
not even going to be mad. If Justin Steele gives up 5 runs and they lose tomorrow, I'm not going to sit here and say, the season's over. Steele gave up 5 runs. But if they can't manage like at least 10 hits in 2 games, you're going to have a hard time getting me to do all these shows.
Yeah.
like seriously, if they can't muster 10 hits in 2 games, they had 3 today. Can you at least give us 7 hits tomorrow?
Yeah.
By the way, Jim is gloating over there like a White Sox fan. I can see it. The beam from his happiness from this first loss. He wasn't going to get here till 10 o'clock in the morning like he normally shows up, a little late, 10 o'clock. But today he's in here bright and early with a smile on his face because the Cubs have lost.
History!
Thank you. That's right. Great one, Sarah. Great play. That was well played.
I'll just be nice since he's a coworker.
See, he said worse record than the Sox. I knew that was coming.
Well,
Anyways, I'd be more mad if the offense doesn't show up in game 2 than I would be if Steele struggles a little bit.
Yeah, no, the offense needs to come out tomorrow and show a little bit more bite, I think. And I think like what Steven said in the super chat and what I kind of said goes with it. Like they need to jump out early. They need to score early off a guy who's making his major league debut, who has a lot of hype.
Kid.
This is if there was a time that you wanted Roki Sasaki to go up against him, honestly, tomorrow is the time that you probably want to go up against him.
I'm curious if he will. We'll never know the answer to this, but I'm curious if he will feel more pressure pitching in Japan in his major league debut than he would if he would have just pitched in the United States in his major league debut.
Yeah.
Like the pressure of his own country, like fully watching him in this spotlight against the Cubs, no other games being played. I kind of think there's more pressure for him actually pitching in Japan in game 1.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like going to college, right?
Sure.
There's less pressure. Your parents aren't watching you anymore. Mm-hmm. You can get a C there. It's all right.
They do get degrees.
They still get a degree.
That's how I graduated. That's a good way to look at it. I'm not expecting Roki Sasaki to completely suck tomorrow, but I am asking the Cubs to score more than 1 run and get more than 3 hits. And I don't think that's too much to ask for. And also the Dodgers aren't going to use, I doubt they're going to use Scott or Trinan tomorrow because, we're talking about how the Cubs use Shota and Ben Brown, all these dudes. Mm-hmm. The Dodgers are also thinking about the same thing about their guys, pitching-wise at least. So it'll be interesting to see how they manage their bullpen tomorrow if the Cubs do score off him early and he's unable to go more than 4 innings, Not to say that they don't have guys. I'm just saying that you're unlikely to see Tanner Scott tomorrow and you're unlikely to see Trinan tomorrow because it's so early in the quote unquote season. I think that there's some sort of good feeling about that at least because I think that Scott and Trinan are probably their 2 best relievers. I think Kirby Yates is in their bullpen too, so we'll probably see him tomorrow. But
give me GTW tomorrow.
You want Gage
Tater Workman in the lineup.
Gage Tater Workman.
And then I asked the question that people have sort of been wondering since this was announced that they were going to Japan and Seiya was made a DH. And not because Tucker was 0-4 in his Cubs debut and has 1 hit in spring training. I'm asking this out of respect, which is so important in Japanese culture. Yeah. Respect, right? Do the Cubs, out of respect, owe Seiya Suzuki a start in right field tomorrow for game number 2? You could switch it. Tucker could still DH, but because it's in his home country and he is a host and has been a host for this team and for this franchise, and knowing what it would mean to him potentially for a guy that doesn't really want to DH, Do they owe it to Seiya to let him play right field tomorrow?
Let me start by saying I was listening to the Bleacher Nation Cubs podcast on my way in, and they were talking about this exact topic. And I think Brett Taylor said something along the lines of, if there's ever a time where you do something right by a guy, this is a time that you do it. But it's tricky because the game matters. And so if you're Craig Counsell, it's a very tough situation. I personally wouldn't do it because you need to win this game.
You know why I wouldn't do it? Every fly ball I saw in this game, it seemed like the outfielders were like searching for the ball in the roof.
Yeah.
Did it not look like maybe it was just because they're not used to playing there, but they have played a couple exhibition games. They've had some practices. Like every fly ball was an adventure. At least that's the way it looked on TV.
That didn't Seiya play there a ton there? No?
I know, but that's what I'm saying. It could just be a hard background.
Yeah.
Like the Trop is a hard place, I think, to play outfield because it was such a light route, but it was damaged.
Yeah, I think maybe in long term, if you care about keeping Seiya long term or something like that, or maybe it is just because it's the right thing to do because you're in Japan and you don't know the next time you're going to play there.
Yeah, Brock says in all caps, yes, put him in right, while Godfather says take him out after he drops the first pop-up.
It's a very hard decision. I think you have to look at it in both sides of the spectrum. I'd still put Kyle Tucker out there, but if you could put Seiya in left field, like what's the difference? Like nothing against Ian Happ, but we know that like the left field Gold Glove, like Ian Happ has been the best one, but it's not like it's the biggest, like it's not like it's a competitive Gold Glove to go and get, right?
I'm not going to compare his Gold Glove to Dansby Swanson's.
Right.
They're both Gold Gloves,
right.
But one is a more elite.
So I
player.
personally would leave Kyle Tucker in right field, but if you could put Seiya in left field and let Happ DH for the day, I'm okay with that. Like as long as you get him in the field, I feel like is fine. But I don't know, man. It's not my decision. I'm just glad it's not my decision. I think it is the right thing to do.
I don't know. I don't know what Craig Counsell's.
I don't know what Craig will do.
I don't know. I think Craig Counsell's job is to do what's right for his team.
Yeah.
Now, whether that means doing that for Seiya, would you ask some of the other leaders on the team?
Maybe.
Would you? But no. I'm just gonna say no. I think it's great. I think he's had a seemingly wonderful time in Japan. I think the best thing Seiya could do in his return to Japan is have a couple hits tomorrow. Yeah. Right? That's what would make it great. I thought the visual of Shota walking out to the mound with the respect and pausing before he gets on the mound, all his routine, I thought that was almost goosebumps. I don't know if I get that feeling with Seiya going out to right field. I'm not saying he's the worst right fielder in baseball, but you have a guy who's a great right fielder. Somebody in the chat said, I think it would have been easier had you won the first game. Maybe. Maybe.
You can also look at it. It is just the second game of the year and whatever. I think that I would lean to guess. If you ask me, gun to my head, and you ask me to make the decision, I'd probably just put him out there because I do think it is the right thing to do. But I don't necessarily like it,
Well, and you have to me, even though Tucker is one for the Cubs,
spring training
one for
combined.
his Cubs career, one spring training hit in his Cubs career, you still got to have him in the lineup. I'm not gonna sit him. You're trying to beat the Dodgers. You got to have Tucker in there. Sooner or later, he's going to break out of it.
Yeah.
I thought what Ben Zobrist was saying was different, or was great yesterday when he was telling us, listen, though, this is more mental than it is physical, most likely, because of all the expectations, and it's a real thing that players go through. It's so early. I mean, an 0 for day means absolutely nothing in baseball. back-to-back 0 for days. That means absolutely nothing. But I would like to see him start to get hot. Heck, you wanted him to get no hits in spring training just so he'd get hot when the season started, right?
Well, yeah, that's kind of like the thought process. Is like, remember when Dansby went like 1 for 30 in his first spring training, and then he started hot in April in 23? That was like the thought process. And I do agree with Ben Zobrist when he was talking about Kyle Tucker yesterday about how it's more of a mental thing than a physical thing. Adjusting to a new team, new expectations. Don't have Yordan Alvarez and Alex Bregman and Jose Altuve and whoever else I'm missing here in the same lineup. He is the guy. He's going from being like a great individual player in a lineup full of great individual players to a lineup where he is the bona fide best player if you look at baseball cards. So, yeah, I'm from the human element side, yeah, it's a big adjustment. And fans are going to start to get really restless pretty quickly if he doesn't start performing. Unfortunately, it's just the state of how things work in this game, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said at the beginning of the show, the offense goes through Seiya and Kyle Tucker. They gotta perform in the big moments when guys are on base. They have to give good at bats. I just felt like today they really didn't. I think Tucker probably had his last at bat was probably his best one.
Jep Rocks says, "Do right by the team. Best fielders get to play the field. Period." See, that's what I'm saying.
That's fair too.
I think most people struggle with this, but it's the ones that don't are pretty adamant about it.
I think it's the best way to look at it, I guess, if you want to say that you should put them out there, is the fact that it's the second game of the year. It's the second game of the year. It's not like we're in September and doing the series and you're in a playoff race. It's the second game of the year. That's the only reason that it gives that I'm like, yeah, just go ahead.
We've said this could be a team building experience, this trip to Japan. This could be day one of the 2025 season, not just in games played, in building a foundation and moving forward, but what is best for the team, showing the team that every game is critical, or showing them that each of you individually matters to this team.
Yeah. We'll
find out tomorrow morning.
Those unmeasurable
5 a.m.
things do matter. So I'll just go on record and say I'll be surprised if he's not in, I guess, right field. But if it was up to me, I'd just put him in left because I think you need Kyle Tucker in the field. But whatever. Whatever you want to do, Craig.
You know what? We're going to watch it together. 5 a.m. tomorrow, game 2 of the regular season, as the Cubs try to go 161-1 this year.
Same time.
I think that would be a record.
161-1. Man, can't wait.
Cody Burton with the final word from the live YouTube chat says, patience, people. Patience.
Most smart people are named Cody.
Thanks to everybody who joined in the live YouTube chat. Best way to enjoy the experience. We appreciate that. We appreciate you watching. Thanks for all the likes. Hey, we finally got up to 100. How about 101 before we leave?
Please.
And to whoever gave us the 1 thumbs down after we woke up at 4 a.m., shame on you.
Yeah,
shame on you. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs Postgame Show Podcast presented by Toyota. Cubs lose 4-1. Back tomorrow after Game 2 right here on CHGO. We'll see you then. Don't forget, fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.